Hello guys, welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed our channel, please do it now. In this video, I am going to talk about the 100 days of the year 2020. What were the things happening around the world in these 100 days? Very excitingly, 2020 started bringing hopes to many across the world. But the nature had different plans altogether. On January 2nd, it was came out as a news that Australian bushfires killed at least 1 billion animals of 100 different species. Though it started in the year 2019, it became very much serious in the early days of January 2020. Also, according to an estimation, 18.6 million hectares have been burnt and destroyed 5,900 buildings and killed at least 34 people. By March 4, 2020, these fires have been extinguished completely, but by this time the major destruction is already done. On January 4th, in a US drone strike, Iranian General Mr. Qasem was killed. The US military has taken defensive action to protect US personnel by killing Qasem, the head of Iranian Revolutionary. Later in the first week of January, World Health Organization notified about the coronavirus which took birth in China. The Chinese branch of World Health Organization was officially notified of the coronavirus on January 7th despite the cases being reported as early as November 2019. On January 8, Iran launched ballistic missiles in Iraq at American soldiers. US officials estimated that more than a dozen missiles were launched from the Iran on two military bases in Iraq housing American soldiers. No deaths were reported from the incident, but more than 100 troops were later diagnosed with traumatic brain injuries. On January 9th, a Ukrainian flight crashed in Tehran, killing around 176 people on board. Shortly after Iran launched an attack on US troops stationed at Iraqi military bases, Ukraine Airlines Flight 752 crashed in Iran on January, killing around 176 people on board. Iran later claimed responsibility for the incident, saying in a statement that the plane was shot down after it was mistaken for a threat. Later on January 11, China reported its first coronavirus death. On January 20, US reported the first coronavirus case in Washington. The first coronavirus case was reported in Washington with a man in the age of 30 being landed in Seattle after visiting China, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention said. By the time of January 20th, the coronavirus has killed 17 people and infected more than 470 in China by spreading it to other countries like South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand. On January 23rd, city officials in Wuhan, the epicenter of global coronavirus pandemic, went under an unprecedented lockdown, impacting its 11 million residents as transportation in and out of the city was totally shut down. In their first week of quarantine, Wuhan experienced food shortages and hospitals saw an overwhelming number of patients. Foreigners visiting the city were evacuated and repatriated to their own countries. NBA legend Mr. Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 other passengers were killed in a helicopter crash in California on January 26th. On January 30th, India reported its first coronavirus case in Kerala. The patient was a female student at Wuhan University in China, tested positive for the novel coronavirus after returning to Kerala. On February 11th, World Health Organization, after researching on the virus and the type of the disease it being causing, they named coronavirus as COVID-19. World Health Organization had to find a name that did not refer to a geographical location, an animal, an individual, or a group of people. World Health Organization Director Mr. Tedros told reporters, adding the name was chosen for being pronounceable and related to the disease. On March, Italy became first country for nationwide lockdown. In an unprecedented move in the coronavirus outbreak, Italy's Prime Minister Mr. Conte announced a nationwide lockdown in the country after it became the second worst hit country by the virus besides China. On March 11th, World Health Organization declared the coronavirus as a pandemic because it was spreading to more than 100 countries around the world. At the time, the coronavirus had infected more than 121,000 people and killed 4,300 people. On March 13, Trump declared a national emergency amid the coronavirus pandemic. After weeks of downplaying the seriousness of the coronavirus pandemic, President Trump declared a national emergency on March 13, triggering the Stafford Act, which allows states to access $50 billion in a federal aid. On March 24th, India's Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi has imposed a nationwide lockdown in an attempt to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Total India, with 130 crores of the population, has to stop all their work with an immediate effect and went to a country lockdown. The most awaited Tokyo Olympics are to be postponed until 2021 after the talks between Japan's Prime Minister Mr. Abe and the International Olympic Committee President Mr. Thomas led to confirmation of a decision made inevitable by the coronavirus pandemic. A little over 3 months since the first corona was reported in China, the pandemic passed a grim milestone, infecting more than 1 million people worldwide on April 2nd. At that time, more than 51,000 people have died worldwide and 210,000 have recovered, according to a report. On April 7th, officials in Wuhan, China, lifted the city worldwide lockdown after 76 days. The citywide lockdown on Wuhan, where the first coronavirus case was reported, was lifted out by the officials after 76 days. The move allowed traffic in and out of the city. On April 9th, the 100th day of 2020, New York State alone had more coronavirus cases than any country in the world, with over 160,000 people affected. After Mr. Trump requesting export of hydroxychloroquine, India exported 50 million tablets of them, according to the trade analyst. Some of the other news were UK Prime Minister Mr. Johnson was on ventilator, who was affected by corona and later was out from the disease and being healthy now. German Finance Minister Mr. Thomas Schäfer committed suicide after deeply worrying about the economic crisis caused by the COVID-19. Apart from this, one of the most awaited tournament in cricket, Indian Premier League, whose net worth is estimated to be 47,000 crores, also got postponed, which if get cancelled could bring around 7,000 crores loss, according to the sources. Many other football matches, other sports and games have come to halt around the world. Many of the airlines have to be grounded, which has given a very big loss to the airline industry all over the world. Many airlines have refunded the money back to the customers who booked in advance. Few airline companies told their employees that they wouldn't be able to pay the salaries, but the jobs would be secure until the activities come to normal. Company like Apple told that they would be seeing the loss in the first quarter of the 2020. Almost all automobile companies went to the loss in the first quarter of this year. Thousands of companies have decided to shift their bases from China to South Asian countries after the corona pandemic. Japan already declared 2 billion USD to shift their bases back to their countries from China. Many of the IT companies told that there would be no salary hike for this financial year because of the pandemic outbreak, but jobs may remain secure. They also told that procurement of the new stuff would take some time until things get to the normal. Events like IIFA have been postponed in India. UK local elections have been postponed for a year. All the business corporate meetings and exhibitions all over the world have been either cancelled or postponed. Hundreds of the countries have closed their borders and requesting people of the nations to stay home and stay safe from being attacked by COVID-19 pandemic. So guys, these are the few things which took over 100 days of 2020. If you like it, please subscribe our channel and share it with your friends.